Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again tonight with another episode of After the Buzzer, the show where I recap the NBA games from the night, of which there were a ton. I am not going to talk about every single game that there was. If I did, I'd be here for about 3 hours. Maybe I can do that at some other point, have a crazy long After the Buzzer video. If you want to see that, make sure to let me know in the comment section below. But today, we're going to go over a few games in particular, some awesome storylines, some monster performances in the league as well. There's one team in particular that I warned y'all about that is looking more and more like a title contender. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos. And let's go ahead and get right into it. Obviously, the title contender that I want to talk about are the Phoenix Suns, who got a monster win over Chicago tonight. Not that that's super impressive. The Bulls haven't exactly been a super team so far, but they were completely dominating them, like offensively, defensively. It was so bad that Devin Booker didn't even have to play the fourth quarter for them to win very, very comfortably. Although I wish he did, because he had a real chance at dropping 70 points for the second time in his career if he played out the whole thing. He finished this one with 51 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists in just 31 minutes across the first 3 quarters of the game. He also shot 20 of 25, 6 of 7 from 3. He has been having such an underrated year, and at this point, I feel like he's just not talked about enough. Last year, he was in some MVP conversations as the Phoenix Suns pushed for the 1 seed, but this year, we haven't really heard much talk about him at all. He's low-key been having one of the best years of his career and has been leading a Phoenix Suns team missing his backcourt partner in Chris Paul for most of the year to the best record in the very stacked Western Conference. He's been absolutely phenomenal so far. And games like this where he drops 51, last game he had a 40-point outing as well. It's just been amazing to see what Devin Booker's been doing. He continues to get better, plays like a superstar almost every single night. He's right there in those top 10 conversations, and I feel like he overall just deserves more respect. When we talk about the best players in this league, when we talk about the superstars, Devin Booker's name belongs in that conversation. And because of how good he is, how good he's been this season, he's probably the biggest reason why I believe in the Phoenix Suns still. I know a lot of people at this point are like, oh, I'm not going to believe in them anymore after the way their season ended last year. And I was someone, to be fair, that was a huge believer in them. I got proven wrong. I thought they were going to win the Western Conference, but I'm going to maybe fall for it again because I still think Phoenix is a title contender, in big part due to the play of Devin Booker, who continues to be underrated, but some of the other guys are also stepping up in a big way, which was critical to them refinding that success that they had in their finals run. And one of those guys has been phenomenal as of late. That's DeAndre Ayton. In tonight's win, he absolutely dominated the interior with 30 points and 14 rebounds. He's been a monster, playing the best basketball of his career over these last few games. If you don't believe me, he just won Western Conference Player of the Week, averaging 23.7 points per game, 16 boards, and 1.3 blocks over his 3 contests. Those are amazing numbers. If you can get that from DeAndre Ayton every single week, I'm not saying he has to have 16 rebounds, but if you can get 20 and 10 from him consistently, the Suns become so scary. He was the guy that when I made a video before the season saying that I thought the Suns could still be really good, he was a name that I mentioned in it very critically because he needed to be the guy that stepped up. Last year, their offense relied way too much on Chris Paul and Devin Booker, and when they went cold, the offense was basically cooked. Now, you have DeAndre Ayton who's playing aggressively. He looks like he's engaged more than ever, which is somewhat surprising because he started the year really slow, and there was that whole thing in training camp where it seemed like he didn't want to be there. Him and Monty Williams hadn't talked all summer, but whatever's happening right now, they're in a rhythm. Him and Devin Booker have been one of the best duos in the league as of late. They are really rolling, like I mentioned, to the best record in the Western Conference at the moment without Chris Paul for most of the season. They've had a lot of guys step up, and DeAndre Ayton has been the biggest one. If they can keep getting this aggressive, engaged DeAndre Ayton both on offense and defense, it goes a really long way to them winning the Western Conference potentially. Once again, I know a lot of y'all are out on Phoenix after the embarrassing way that they ended their season last year. I get that. I 100% understand. But if you look at the Western Conference, it is wide open. The defending champion Golden State Warriors, who many people picked to win the conference again, are 11-11, sitting at the 10 seed at the moment. The Clippers, who I thought were going to win the West, have been kind of middle of the pack so far, missing both Kawhi Leonard and Paul George for extended periods of time. The Denver Nuggets have looked really good and are at the 2nd seed right now, but once again, they're still trying to find their rhythm with Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. Why can't it be the Phoenix Suns who come out of this conference? DeAndre and Devin Booker have both been phenomenal. phenomenal. The team has been missing Chris Paul for most of the season. When he comes back, they're only going to get better. And on the season, they're the second best offense and the sixth best defense, the only team in the NBA right now that is within the top 6 in both of those categories. In addition to the Chris Paul injury, they're also missing Cameron Johnson, who should be back at some point this season, albeit that's probably still a little bit away. So when you get those two guys back in this lineup, things only get scarier. And you also have Jay Crowder, who refuses to play still. He'll get moved at some point, probably to a contender for another piece. That brings in another guy who's on your roster, because right now Jay Crowder is basically just taking up a roster spot that could be filled with a really solid role player to add to this pretty deep team already. Mikal Bridges is still giving you elite defense while stepping up offensively. Cameron Payne has looked great as a lead guard in Chris Paul's absence. Just had one of the best stretches of his career recently. You've got Landale and Bismack Biyombo, who are both solid bigs that can each do a bit of different things when DeAndre Ayton isn't on the court. Torrey Craig and Landry Shamet have both given you some decent minutes here and there. You had Damian Lee, who had a game winner earlier in the season. He's looked all right. You can still make trades with any of those guys. They have like all their draft picks. The Phoenix Suns are in a really, really good spot. I understand, once again, if you do not believe in them because of the way the season ended last year, but I'm telling you right now, Phoenix so far has looked like the best team in the Western Conference, and I think because of the great play of their superstar in Devin Booker, his two supporting guys in DeAndre Ayton, who right now is playing the best basketball of his career, and Chris Paul, who is just a winning player, alongside a cast of pretty solid guys, a cast that I didn't think would be this good so far. They look like a real threat to win the West once again. I still believe in them. In some other league news, you had the Celtics beating the Miami Heat by double digits, led of course by Jason Tatum, who also nearly had 50. He dropped 49 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 assists. He's been incredible in the season, very clearly in my eyes the MVP at the moment. He was my pick in my quarterly awards video. If you want to go check that out, that will probably be in the description somewhere. And if I forget that, it's like the third most recent video on my channel. It's right there. But he's been phenomenal in my eyes, once again, the MVP. He was followed by Jaylen Brown, who continues to make up with him one of the best duos, maybe the best duo in the NBA right now. He had 26, 7, and 5. Malcolm Brogdon had 21 points off the bench. I can't believe that a team as good as Boston somehow brought him in as a 6-man. In a losing effort, the Heat were led by Bam Adebayo with 23, 6, and 5. Max Strus also added 23 points, while Tyler Hero had 22, 6, and 9. They just couldn't get any stops on the other end. They really missed a guy like Jimmy Butler, who could have helped them out with some high-level defense on Jason Tatum. Hopefully he's able to come back soon. Then we had Pelicans versus Raptors, with New Orleans getting a double-digit win over Toronto, led by Zion Williamson, who didn't have his running mate in Brandon Ingram, so he had to step up in a big way, and he's looked more and more like the Zion that I expected coming into the year. He's been a bit slow, I think, as him and Ingram kind of figure out how they're going to split the touches, how this team's going to work, because there's a lot of new pieces involved, with Zion not playing at all last season. He had 33, 10, and 5 against a pretty solid defensive squad in Toronto, just absolutely abusing them inside. There was basically nothing they could do. You had Trey Murphy III, who had 26 points and 5 rebounds. He's been really good this season. Dyson Daniels, who they got in the first round, had 14, 8, and 9. Great showing from him as he continues to play some great backup minutes. The New Orleans Pelicans continue to look like another team that could maybe make a run out west if they get their pieces going all together. Everyone's healthy at the same time. They've missed CJ McCollum for a portion of the year as well, but still, they're sitting, I believe, at the 3rd or 4th seed in the West so far. For Toronto, they were led by Gary Trent Jr., who had 35 points, and Pascal Siakam, who continues to put up really good efforts, but they really didn't have much outside of them. Scotty Barnes shot just 1 of 7 for 4 points as he continues to go through a pretty rough sophomore slump. He's had a couple good games here and there, but overall, just not been the sophomore jump that many people thought he would take. Toronto is having him do a lot more different things in their offense. They're having him run a lot of point guard, handle the ball more, which isn't exactly his game at the moment, but these reps could be important down the line as he continues to develop and grow as potentially a franchise player for the organization. You also had Fred VanVleet, who really struggled, scoring just 2 points before getting ejected with 2 technical fouls. The second one where he just kind of clapped. That's been a weird trend that we've seen this season. A lot of guys getting technicals for clapping. I guess that's a point of emphasis that they made, but in my opinion, very, very weak to eject a guy with his second technical for just clapping at a ref. Then we had Timberwolves versus Grizzlies in a rematch of their first round playoff series last year, with Minnesota coming out on top in this one. Despite Karl Anthony Towns suffering a pretty bad calf strain last game, he's going to miss a pretty significant portion of time. So they're going to need guys like Anthony Edwards to step up, which is exactly what he did in the victory. He had 29 points, 3 rebounds, and 5 assists, alongside 5 steals and 3 blocks. Almost a 5x5 by a guard, which is insane. This is the Anthony Edwards that they need if they want to make a run in the West. You also had D'Angelo Russell, who had a pretty solid game with 15, 5, and 10. He's looked a lot better after he started the season very, very poorly. You also got 24 from Jalen Noel, who in my opinion is one of the most underrated bench guys in the NBA at the moment. Memphis is very clearly missing Desmond Bane's high-level scoring, his ability to shoot. Just be another guy outside of Ja Morant who can consistently get you buckets. Hopefully he's able to come back soon because we still have not seen him, Ja Morant, and Jaren Jackson Jr. on the court at the same time this season. Final game I want to go into is Thunder versus Spurs, where OKC got the win without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. It's my favorite squad. You knew we had to talk about it. And I want to quickly talk about Jalen Williams, J-Dub for short. If you're confused, OKC has two different Jalen Williamses. That's a whole nother story. So this one is J-Dub out of Santa Clara. We got him at the 12th overall pick. He's been really good so far this season, and tonight he had the best game of his young career, dropping 27 points, 6 boards, and 2 dimes on 11 of 15 shooting, 2 of 3 from 3. He was our best offensive player in a game where we had to come back from down 20 to eventually get the win. The Spurs were on absolute fire, scoring over 70 points in the first half, and they only scored 34 total in the second. The whole team really clamped up, and Jalen Williams was the biggest reason why we ended up getting the win. Just amazing stuff from the rookie, who reminds me a lot of rookie Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, if I'm being honest. He just reminds me of the way that he played at that stage. He has those early shades of very slithery, high-level finishing. J-Dub has even said that in the past he's modeled his game after Shai. He's looked at his highlights, tried to build his game similar to that, which is great to see that now the two of them are in OKC. He's got the chance to learn from Shai the way that he plays. They have similar like hesitation moves, scoop layups. I'm just saying I see a lot of shades of Shai in J-Dub. So if we get 2 Shais, that would be incredible. In some other big performances, Kevin Durant had 39 points in a win over Washington, while Kyrie added a near 30 piece. The two of them had one of their best games as a duo in quite some time. You had LeBron James, who dropped 31, 7, and 8 in a win over the Portland Trail Blazers as the Lakers continue to improve, build some momentum. If they didn't lose that game to the Pacers, this would now be, I believe, 7-1 in their last 8 games or something along those lines. They've just kind of seemed to find some footing, while Portland has continued to drop down the standings without Damian Lillard. And finally, you had Giannis dropping 37 points in a win over the New York Knicks. He ended up fouling out, but his teammates held on for the dub. That's all I've got for tonight's games. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these uploads. I'm going to be uploading every single day, once, twice, maybe even 3 times on some days for the month of December. You do not want to miss out on that, so make sure you subscribe. And also comment down below either video ideas or your biggest takeaways from tonight's games. I'd love to hear what y'all have to say. I appreciate y'all watching. Also, let me know if you think the Suns are a contender or if you think I'm crazy. I'll see y'all later. Ruwan, say it back.